प्रेमे धोला धोला सोनार अंग चरणे नूपुर बाजे
प्रेमे धला धला सोनार अंग चरणे नूपुर बाजे
मुकुंद माधव जाधव हरि बोले न बोल रे बदन बोरी
मुकुंद माधव यादव हरि बोले न बोलो रे बदन भोरी
नीचे निदा बसे गेलो रे राती दिवस शरीर साजे
नीचे निदा बसे गेलो रे राती दिवस शरीर साजे
ए मन दुर्लभ मानव देह पाइया की करो भावना के हो
ए मन दुर्लभ मानव देह पाइया की करो भावना के हो
एबे ना भजिले यशोदा सुत चरमे पोदिबे लाजे
ये बेना भजिले यशोदा सुता चरण पोदिबे लाजे
उदित तपन होइले अष्ट दिन गेलो बोली होइबे व्यस्त
उदित तपन होइले अष्ट दिन गेले बोली होइबे व्यस्त
तबे केनो एबे अलस है न भज हृदय राजे
तबे केनो एबे अलस है न भजे हृदय राजे
जीवन अनित्य जान हसार थाहे नाना विधा विपर भार
जीवन अनित्य जान हसार ताहे नाना विधा विपद भार
नामाश्रया करी जतनी तुमी थाकह आपन काजे
नमस्कार करी जतनी तुमी थाकह आपन काजे
जीवेर कल्याण साधन काम जगत याशी ए मधुर नाम
जीवेर कल्याण साधन का जगते मधुर नाम
आविद्यातिमिर तापन रूपे हृद्गगने विराजे
अविद्यातिमरतपन रूपे हृदगगने विराजे
कृष्ण नाम शुद्धा कौरियपान जुदाओ भक्ति विनोद प्राण
कृष्ण नाम
kichu nahi ko aro chauda bhuvana maje.
Nama bina kichu naki nai ko aro chuda bhuvana maje.
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhams Paribrajak Acharya Ashtotara Sata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Shami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai.
Jai.
प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय. श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद गिरि गोवर्धन की जय. वृंदावन धाम की जय. नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय. गंगा माई की जय. जमुना माई की जय. तुलसी देवी की जय. भक्ति देवी की जय. समवेता भक्त वृंद की जय. गौर प्रेमानंदे. All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glory to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga Hari Hari Bo. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namane. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirbishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda.
Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda.
Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda.
Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda.
Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda.
Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda.
Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Hare Krishna. We're studying the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, chapter 20, which is the Lord instructing Sanatana Goswami. I have text 273, is that correct?
That's right.
Okay.
Shango Bishesh Abhash Rupe. Shango Bishesh Abhash Rupe Prokriti Sporshon Jeeb Roop Bij Tate Koila Samorpon.
To impregnate with the seeds of living entities, the Lord himself does not directly touch the material energy, but by his specific functional expansion, he touches the material energy, and thus the living entities, who are his parts and parcels, are impregnated into material nature. We have a long purport here. According to Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita 15:7, Mam aivangsho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana mana shastan indriyani prakriti shtani karshati. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. Struggling very hard, yeah. In the present verse of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in reference, the word, oh, okay, I have different things here. In the present verse, the word, okay, mine is different here. In the present verse of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the word Prakriti Sparshana refers to the Lord's glancing over material nature and placing the living entities in contact with dull matter. The glancing is performed by Mahavishnu. Sa aikshata loka nu srija iti Aitreya Upanishad 1:1:1. Sometimes the impersonalists say that God has no eyes, ears, hands, legs. But here it says saikshita, he's glancing. So we understand that to mean the Supreme Lord has no material eyes, no eyes like us, which are limited, or no material ears. In the conditioned stage, we impregnate according to the bodily conception, that is, by sexual intercourse. But the Supreme Lord does not need sexual intercourse to impregnate. The impregnation is performed simply by his glance. This is also explained in Brahma Samhita. You might be familiar with this. Angani yasyas sakalendriya vritti manti pashyanti panti kalayanti chiram jaganti ananda chinmaya sadujvala vigrahasya govindam adi purusham tamaham bhajami. Govinda can impregnate simply by glancing. In other words, his eyes can work as his genitals. He does not need genitals to beget a child. Indeed, Krishna can beget any one of the living entities with any part of his body, not only his eyes. An interesting point here is that sometimes when a person loses the function, say, of vision or hearing, or then other senses become enhanced so that they can take up the function of the lost sense to a certain degree, limited degree in human life, because the soul also has transcendental senses that are imperfectly reflected through this body. The word svanga visheshabhas rupe, indicating the form of by which the Lord begets living entities in this material world, is explained herein. He is Lord Shiva. In the Brahma Samhita, it is stated that Lord Shiva, who is another form of Mahavishnu, is like yogurt. So we're talking here about Sadashiva. Sadashiva is outside the material universe, with Mahavishnu. Mahavishnu's personified glance is Sadashiva. Do you follow that one? So Lord Vishnu, Mahavishnu here is glancing at the material energy, the Mahatattva, and that glance personified is Sadashiva. Yogurt is nothing but milk, yet it is not milk. How is that? How is that? Who can say?
It's curdle. It's not look like milk. It's milk that is not milk.
It has the quality.
Been turned sour.
Yeah, you can use, I mean, milk you can make many things with. You can boil it down, you can make milk into yogurt, you can make it paneer, you can drink the milk straight. But once you make it into dahi or yogurt, you can't boil it down anymore. It's a different, even though it's still milk, but because it's in contact with the acid culture, you can't use it the same way as milk anymore. As you said, yeah, it's different. Yogurt is nothing but milk, yet it is not milk. Achintya Beda Bed Tattva. Similarly, Lord Shiva is considered the father of this universe, and material nature is considered the mother. The father and mother are known as Lord Shiva and the goddess Durga. Together, Lord Shiva's genitals and the vagina of goddess Durga are worshipped as Shivalinga. This is the origin of the material creation. Thus, Lord Shiva's position is between the living entity and the Supreme Lord. Lord Shiva is neither the Supreme Personality of Godhead nor the living entity. He is the form through which the Supreme Lord works to beget living entities within this material world. As yogurt is prepared when milk is mixed with a culture, the form of Lord Shiva expands when the Supreme Personality of Godhead is in touch with material nature. The impregnation of material nature by the Father, Lord Shiva, is wonderful because innumerable living entities are conceived. So in this world, human beings might have one child at a time, sometimes twins and rarely triplets. Other animals might have a litter of a dozen dogs or pigs. But when Krishna has impregnates, he can impregnate billions and billions of living entities into the material world all at once. Bhaga Jiva Savigyeya Sa Chanakyaya Kalpate, Svetasvatara Upanishad. These living entities are very, very small. Keshagra Shatabhagasya Tangsha Sadrishatmaka Jiva Sukshma Swarupoyam Sankyati Toti Chitkana. If we divide the tip of a hair into 100 parts, and then take one of those parts and divide it again into 100 parts, that very fine division is the size of one of the numberless living entities. They are all chitkana, particles of spirit, not matter. Questions or comments so far? No? Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. You
Hare
said
Krishna.
something about Sadasiva.
Yeah.
So what's the difference? How many Shiva are there?
Well, Shiva also appears in every material universe through the agency of Lord Brahma. If you remember, I'm sure you do, that the first mind-born sons of Brahma were the four Kumaras.
Yes.
So Lord Brahma's business was to populate the universe, and so he wanted to have those sons become Prajapatis, which were progenitors of the universe, different forms of human beings and other species. But they were smart, and they said, well, thanks, but no thanks. Because if we get involved in the household life, then we'll become distracted from our real purpose of being in this world, which is to become Krishna conscious. And so they chose that they would remain as kumaras, be little boys, maybe 5 years old, to cultivate transcendental knowledge. So at that point, Lord Brahma became angry, and from his anger, from his forehead was born in this universe Lord Shiva. So that Lord Shiva is a manifestation of the Sadashiva, but he's slightly different. We'll read about it later. It'll be here. You'll see.
Thank you.
His job is to so the Sadashiva impregnates all the living beings into this universe, into the material nature. That's Sadashiva. But this Shiva within this universe, that his job is destruction, supervising the modes of Tamagun, and he has his other functions also.
And you said Sadashiv is the personified glance of Mahavishnu?
Yes. These are things that are quite, mind-boggling, because you think of a glance, you don't think of a person, but because the Krishna in the spiritual world, everything is person. The water is person, the flower is person, everything is person. So also the glance of Mahavishnu is person. The innumerable Brahmandas or universes come from the pores of the Lord's body, and innumerable living entities also come from the pores of the transcendental body of the Lord. This is the process of material creation. Without the living entity, the material nature has no value. Both emanate from the pores of the transcendental body of Lord Mahavishnu. There are different energies. That is explained in Bhagavad Gita. Bhumir apo nalo vayu kam mano buddhirevacha ahankara iti yamme bhinna prakritirashtadha. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego, altogether these 8 constitute my separated material energy. Bhagavad Gita 7th chapter 4th verse. The material elements also come from the body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they are also a different type of energy. So remember the verse, Parasya Shaktir Vividhaiva Shruyate. Krishna is the source of multifarious different kinds of energy, not just one energy, or 2 energies, but all different kinds. So here we have. The material elements also come from the body of the Supreme Personality, and they are also a different kind of energy. Although the living entities also come from the Lord's body, they are categorized, the living entities are categorized as superior energy. Apareyam itastvanyam prakritim vidhime param jiva bhuta mahabaho yayedham dharyate jagat. Besides this inferior nature, O mighty armed Arjuna, there is a superior nature of mind, which consists of all living entities who are struggling with material nature and are sustaining the universe. Bhagavad Gita 7.5. The inferior energy, matter, cannot act without the spiritual energy, superior energy, sorry. All these things are very clearly explained in the Vedas. The materialistic theory that life develops from matter is incorrect. Life and matter come from the supreme living entity. Therefore, being the source of both, that supreme living entity, Krishna, is described in Vedanta Sutra as Janmadyasya Yataha, or the original source of everything, Sarva Karana Karanam. This is further explained in the following verse. Comments, questions? No? This is, so Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the next few verses and already here is going to be describing the process of creation in the Vedic model. Within the world today, the accepted view of creation is something called the Big Bang. You might have heard of it, the Big Bang. So anyway, there's a good explanation of the weaknesses of that model in a magazine published by ISKCON called Origin Magazine, and the article is called "Big Questions About the Big Bang." It's quite informative, and I'd encourage anybody who has interest in getting a better handle on the ideas of creation to look through that article. Big questions. If you can't find it, just let me know. I have the magazine. I have the magazine, and I could scan it, or I'm sure I could find it online. Big questions about the Big Bang. You could search for it and then put origin, and then you'll find it. There's a few places you can get it.
Paul, I have a question. Why do people worship the Sivling instead of just a form of Lord Shiva, like we see them at it?
I don't know.
Okay.
That's, I mean, Shiva Linga, that's the original source of the universe, material universe.
I don't know, when I was young, I heard some story, I don't believe, but he has a curse that he won't have any form or anything. He will be all by linga.
Oh, not a full form. Yeah, linga's form, but not a full form, perhaps.
Body form.
Sure.
Temples. Usually all the temples, they have Shivalinga only.
Krishna Kirtan here.
This is Krishna Kirtan. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. So, if I was studying in the Brahma Samhita, a while back, the purport, from the purport, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explained that Shivalinga is the form of Sambhu.
Yeah.
Shivalinga is called Sambhu, and that is the union of the what do you call masculine and feminine form, and that's just considered a glance, which you're talking about, the glance of Mahavishnu, which you mentioned, to the material nature. That's from my understanding. I read a while back from the purports of Brahma Samhita. That's the form of Sambhu. That's called Sambhu.
Okay.
I can find out. I just wanted to share. That's my understanding. So
Yes.
that's the original. That's the original. You can say procreation or whatever it is, but that's the from there maybe manifesting. How that I don't know, but that's the form actually glancing of Mahavishnu, the nature.
Yeah. So there's an aggregate material nature. Sometimes it's called Mahatattva, and sometimes it's called Pradhan. It's described in the first verse of the third chapter of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is entitled "Krishna is the source of all incarnations." So in the material world, the first incarnation is Mahavishnu. So there it's described that Mahavishnu, he creates the 16 principles of material action, the 5 gross elements, the 5 knowledge acquiring senses, the 5 working senses, and the mind. And then he impregnates that Mahatattva with his glance, same as here. So, but that's taking place not within the universe, but before the generation of the universes. Sadashiva or Shambhu can be also called, is before the generation of those universes. And I mean, it's a little difficult to conceptualize because the whole thing is Krishna. Just like when Mother Yashoda looked inside Lord Krishna's mouth because his friends criticized him, saying he had eaten dirt. She saw all the universes within the mouth of Krishna. But Krishna was outside her. And how can that be? And then she saw herself there. So these are little mind-boggling things. But the Mahatattva or the Pradhan is something that the principles of material creation. The Mahatattva is like described as a cloud that sometimes occurs within the spiritual sky. You know, the spiritual sky is brilliant and effulgent, but in a small corner, sometimes the Mahatattva is generated, and then the living entities are impregnated, and then after that they come out of the body of Mahavishnu by his breathing or from the pores of his body.
Should I read it?
The purport?
No.
Well, I mean, we have a lot of here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. There's going to be more description in the Chaitanya Charitamrita here. Usually with the Brahma Samhita, because it's Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's description, it's a little more difficult to understand because of his elevated vocabulary. But at least for me. So we can read that after we finish these. I don't say not read it, but so text 274. This looks like it's Sanskrit, huh?
Yes.
Deva Kshubita Dharminyam Svasyam Yona Parapuman Adatta Viryam Sasuta Mahatattvam Hiranmayam. From time immemorial, after agitating the material nature into three qualities, the Supreme Personality of Godhead places the semina of innumerable living entities within the womb of that material nature. Thus, material nature gives birth to the total material energy known as Hiranmaya Mahatattva, the original symbolic representation of the cosmic manifestation. Purport. This is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam 3:26-19. Lord Kapila is explaining to his mother the relationship between the Supreme Personality of Godhead and material nature. He is informing her how the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the original cause of the living entities who emanated from material nature. Over and above the 28 elements of the material creation is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the cause of all causes. Life comes not from nature, but from life itself, as explained in the Vedas, Nityo Nityanam, Chaitanas Chaitananam, Kata Upanishad 2.2.13. The Supreme Lord is the original source of life. Kala Vritya Tumayayam, Gunamayam Adhokshaja, Purushenatma Bhutena, Viryam Adhatta Viryaya. In due course of time, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Mahavishnu or Vaikuntanath, sometimes also called Vaikunteshwara, who's been changed a little bit to Venkateshwara, by the agency of a further expansion of his personal self, places the seed of the living entities within the womb of material nature. This is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam 3.5.26. This verse tells how the living entities come in contact with the material nature. Just as a woman cannot beget children without uniting with a man, material nature cannot beget living entities without being in union with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is a history of how the Absolute Lord becomes the Father of all living entities. In every system of religion, it is accepted that God is the supreme father of all living entities. According to Christianity, the supreme father, God, provides the living entities with all of life's necessities. Therefore, they pray, "Give us this day our daily bread." Any religion that does not accept the Supreme Lord as the absolute Father is called Kaitava Dharma, or a cheating religion. Such religious systems are rejected in Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1-2. Dharma prochata kaitavotra. Only an atheist does not accept the omnipotent Supreme Father. If one accepts the omnipotent Supreme Father, he abides by his orders and becomes a religious person. One more verse here. This is Bengali, right?
Yes. তবে মহতত্ত্ব হইতে ত্রিবিধ অহংকার, যাহা হইতে দেবতেন্দ্রীয় ভূতের প্রচার।
First, the total material energy is manifest. And from this arise the three types of egotism, which are the original sources from which all the demigods, controlling deities, senses, and material elements expand. Purport. The three types of egotism, ahankara, are technically known as Vaikatika, Tajasa, and Tamasa. The Mahatattva is situated within the heart, or Chitta, and the predominating deity of the Mahatattva is Lord Vasudev. The Mahatattva is transformed into three divisions. One, Vaikarika, egotism in goodness, Sattvika Ahankara, from which the 11th sense organ, the mind, is manifest, and whose predominating deity is Aniruddha, Bhagavatam 3:26, 27, 28. Two, Taijasa, or egotism in passion, Rajasa Ahankara, from which the senses and intelligence are manifest, and whose predominating deity is Lord Pradyumna, Bhagavatam 3:26, 29, 31. Three, Tamasa, or egotism in ignorance, from which sound vibration, shabda tanmatra, expands. From the sound vibration, the sky, akash, is manifest, and the senses, beginning with the ear, are also manifest. Bhagavatam 3:26, 32. Of these three types of egotism, Lord Sankarshan is the predominating deity. In the philosophical discourse known as Sankhya Kanka, it is stated, Sattvika ekadashaka pravartate vaikritad ahankarat bhutades tanmatram tamasa taijasadi udbhavam. Complex stuff. Very complex stuff.
I have a question for Boo.
Yes.
The Mahatattva is, it says here it's in the heart. So situated within the heart. So I think the presiding deity is Lord Vasudev, but I thought that it was, I may be getting the wrong Vishnu Tattva wrong. I thought it was Shirodakshya Vishnu, or I thought it was one of the Vishnu Tattvas that was the presiding deity of Super Soul heart.
Yeah, Kshirodakshaya Vishnu.
Yeah, Shirodakshya, that's what I thought. So
yeah,
how is Lord Vasudev?
So yeah, Kshirodakshaya Vishnu is a general name, and Aniruddha is a more specific name. Just like you have the president and it's Donald Trump. You know? So Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, his specific name is here is Vasudev, right? Vasudev.
Lord Vasudev, right.
Yeah. So
it's the same person.
Yeah. It's not a different person.
Okay.
And how is the Mahatattva in the heart? I don't know. I mean, we're seeing that the Mahatattva is first created and then agitated by the glance of Mahavishnu in the beginning of the creation of the material world, and then from subsequently the living entities along with the universes are coming out of the pore holes in the breathing of Mahavishnu. So how that goes from the Mahatattva, where the living entities are going to the Mahatattva to go back inside Mahavishnu and coming out his breathing in pore holes, I don't know. But it's pretty amazing. That's all I can say.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It is. It's really confusing but amazing.
Yeah, and the predominant theory is still the Big Bang, and if you listen to Sadaputta, he would talk about the scientist Sadaputta Prabhu about the difficulties with the Big Bang. Apparently for some time it was rejected for the reason that in order for it to have a Big Bang, there's something called a singularity. I think some of you probably have heard about it. The singularity is a point that is infinitesimally small, but infinite density and heat. So a tiny point. And from that singularity, boom, the universe exploded. So then, of course, just like people say, well, where does God come from? And we say, Krishna is the source of, that's what you mean by God is the origin. So then the question is, where does the singularity come from? Where does this infinitesimal point with infinite density and heat? Who knows where it comes from? And because we have no experience of such a point anywhere, it was pretty much discounted until sometime in the 50s or 60s. The scientists developed these radar kinds of receptors that would detect background noise in the universe, and so they started to receive a general background noise from different parts of the universe. They said that must be the remnant sound of the Big Bang from the original creation. And by that, before that, it wasn't accepted, but after that, it was accepted. So who knows what that sound is? But anyway, like I said, if a good review of that is in that Origin article, Big Questions about the Big Bang. Do you want to? Is Krishna Kirtan Prabhu still there?
Yeah, I'm still there, but because Mother Vrindavan, she said, brought up this subject, I was contemplating on this also. It looks like, it is a little confusing because the way it was presented, it confused me also. Now, when you're talking about Mahatattva, and we discussed about Vasudeva Tattva, right? Mahatattva is Vasu is pure goodness. Is it referring Mahatattva as a pure goodness? Because, we're passion.
No.
No?
Just because he's the deity of the Mahatattva doesn't mean he is affected by it. Lord Vasudeva isn't affected by it. No, he's always transcendental.
Right. The two things, why he says is the predominating deity of Mahatattva is Lord Vasudeva and Vasudev. And, sorry. It says Vasudev, it's not Vasudev.
That's right.
Okay. It's Vasudev, okay. But Suddha Sattva is Vasudev, called Vasudev, right? Pure goodness is called Vasudev.
Yes.
Then this Vasudev, which is referring to, if it's in the heart, that's the Paramatma then.
You could, well, I would, certain things we just have to kind of hear and try to understand, but the understanding is going to come by spiritual progress, not by intellectual trying to apply our intelligence necessarily. Te sam satati yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhiyogam tam yena mama priyantite. You know, it is mind-boggling. You said it's a little confusing. I'd say it's probably a lot confusing, but you know, unfortunately, we don't have any kind of uh, telescope or microscope or any kind of instrument that can bring us back to the origin of time to see what actually happened, with our eyes. And even if we have our material eyes, would we be able to see it? Because these things are going on, in a different realm beyond this material world. So it is, we like things to be very easily comprehensible, but sometimes they're not. And we're kind of stuck with that right now. It's a good idea to try to understand, but Krishna will give us more understanding over time, but as we make some spiritual progress. It's the best I can do.
Yeah, thank you, Babu. If you want to me read that Shambhu, I
Sure.
can read that,
Shambhu is another name for Sadashiv. Yeah, anyway.
Right. So here on the text 8 of Brahma Samhita, it's written, the translation only I'm reading. The secondary process of association with Maya is described. Ramadevi, the spiritual chit potency, beloved consort of the Supreme Lord, is the regulatrix of all entities. The divine plenary portion of Krishna creates the mundane world. I think is referring to Mahavishnu now. At creation, there appears a divine halo of the nature of his own subjective portion, Swamsa. This halo is divine Shambhu, the masculine symbol or manifested emblem of the Supreme Lord. This halo is the dim twilight reflection of the Supreme Eternal Effulgence. So this is again the glance. And this masculine symbol is the subjective portion of the divinity who functions as progenitor of the mundane world, subject to the supreme regulatrix, Niyati. The conceiving potency in regard to mundane creation makes her appearance out of the supreme regulatrix. She is Maya, the limited, non-absolute, opera potency, the symbol of the mundane feminine productivity. So the intercourse of these two beings forth the faculty of perverted cognition, the reflection of the seed of the procreative desire of the Supreme Lord. So if this is the desire of the Supreme Lord, for the procreative desire of the Supreme Lord, in a reflected, the reflection of its reflection, which is manifested in the form of Shambhu, where it represents, the halo, divine halo is in the masculine form, and the Prakriti, Maya, is mentioned as the supreme regulatrix. So that's from that I understand that Shambhu is that is the focus is representing actually.
Yeah, good. There's a nice prayer by a bhajan by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. It's in Bengali. It goes, Tumi Sarveshwareshwara Brajendra Kumar Tomar Ichaya Vishwe Srijan Sanghar. Translation, you are, O Brajendra Kumar, Tomar, you are, by your wish, the universe is created and destroyed. Tava Ichamata Brahmaya Karina Srijan, by your wish, Brahma creates. Tava Ichamata Shiva Karina Tava Ichamata Vishnu Brahma Karina Tava Ichamata Vishnu Karina Palan, and by your wish Vishnu is maintaining. By your wish Lord Shiva destroys, and by your wish Maya maintains the prison house of this material universe. So it goes like that. Tumi Sarveshwareshwara Brajendra Kumar Tomar Ichaya Vishe Shijan Sanhar. Okay. Any other comments or questions? I know this is a little tough, and we're doing the best we can here. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Vishnugada Prabhu. I have a question.
Yeah.
Quick. Thank you for the class. Very gets the mind working early in the. It's amazing. What is the creation constantly ongoing, or is it kind of a one-time thing? We know that, I guess, at the initial creation happens, but we also hear that a living entity can leave the material universe if they go back to Godhead. Does a living entity to re-enter the universe, do they have to wait until one of these creations take place? Are they on like a waiting list until it happens, or does it?
Good question. Good question. The only thing that I can read is it says the Srila Prabhupada says from time to time the cloud of the Mahatattva is manifest. So apparently there's sometimes when there's not a material creation going present. And then within the material creation, we heard about the Mahatattva being agitated by the glance of Mahavishnu. But then the creation of all the universes happens, where from the universes come out like little balls or droplets from the body of Mahavishnu. He breathes out, and then when he breathes in, they're all destroyed. All those universes are destroyed, and he can breathe out and breathe in so many times. So that part is going on for a while. His breathing out and breathing in. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th chapter, in the story where Lord Vyasadeva is hearing about Narad Muni's past life, Narad Muni says that he attained enlightenment previously, and then at the end of the millennium, he entered into Vishnu by Vishnu's breathing. Now the question is, was that Mahavishnu or Garbhodakshay Vishnu? Well, the later purport says it was Garbhodakshay Vishnu. So there's the creation going on at that level. Every day of Brahma, there's a new creation. Every day Brahma does, he gets out, just like you have your job of working at the water department, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, so you get up and you have to do your work every day. So Lord Brahma, every day he gets up and his job is create the universe. So he creates it every day. That's a different kind of creation. Yeah, so there's all different levels of the creation. That's the best I can do.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sure. Any announcements?
No
Okay.
announcement.
Okay. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpa. Parubhya sturti pasindhi vibhacha pradam bhavane
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Thank you.